Today's tea time is a little bit of Christmas in September. Got my Christmas mug out today. And the topic is modern nutrition. And this is just in case you have a very busy life and you're not up on all the facts. As a person who's here to help the earth, I do read everything I can about nutrition and about food and about what's going on. And honestly, I still don't know enough, but I do take the time and effort to know so I can pass it on to you. And in the last year alone, some major findings have come out that we simply can no longer ignore. The first one is alcohol causes cancer. All right, this came out in a study. Google search it yourself, but there is a high rate of increasing your chances of cancer if you drink alcohol. Now, we've been drinking alcohol for centuries. There's an industry that's trying to prevent us from stopping this habit of ours. But really, if you look back in human history and even in your own life, you know, alcohol only does one thing. It knocks you out and shuts you off, and not much else happens after that. So myself, I have been phasing out alcohol, and I have to say, honestly, it's not easy. Being a tourist and liking red wine, being accustomed to disconnecting when I want to, when I go out and stuff like that. All these things are very difficult to transition out of our life. So I completely understand if you're a person who likes to drink. I will just give you this tidbit that most of what's giving people cancer and alcohol are the additives that come from the manufacturing process. So if you are going to be a drinker, you really should spend the money on the highest top shelf and the most filtered alcohol so you can at least extend the length of your life. Now, maybe you already know this or not know this, but I just thought as a sensei to serious joy I should say this. Now, here's another shocker that came out this year. Meat and processed meats, such as hot dogs, cold cuts, anything that's been processed causes cancer. In fact, there is a huge link between bacon and colon cancer. So all those unfortunate men who have gotten colon cancer, how much bacon had they eaten in their life? All right, and this has to do with the way we cure the meats and whatnot. But I have to say, spiritually, I know we're not meant to eat animals. Again, I was raised, a carnivore. I've been eating meat my whole life. I've been phasing it out to just fish, and I have my own personal reasons for that. Mostly because fish is wild and swims in the open seas. It's a completely different scenario. But we can get our protein from grains and other sources. We're really not meant to get it from animals. But even if you don't even want to go into that whole argument, it causes cancer. Of course, the Meat Council did not like this when this study came out. But really, it's Europe, I think, that's forging a lot of these studies because Europe is interested in the truth. So alcohol and meat cause cancer. Now, obviously, cigarettes and nicotine causes cancer as well. This is also a negative for your body. I have smoked in my past, and I have loved it because it's deep breathing and all sorts of things. But I want to tell you what I've observed from having been on cigarettes and gotten off of cigarettes, and that is that it keeps you in a circular thinking. I'm very, very aware of my thoughts and how things work, and I think something happens with nicotine that keeps the neural pathways never changing, and so I think people stay stuck in ruts. And if you have people who are struggling with smoking out there, you might talk them into just giving it up for a month and telling them they can go back to it later. Really, because if you can just get past that, now of course it's not good for your lungs, of course it's a carcinogen, and I have to say, for the record, that I think all of this vaping is not going to be good for us either, because frankly, there's nothing in the earth where human beings are being forced naturally to inhale steam. Okay, like unless you're an Eskimo or you live by a volcano, and in those cases, maybe you've adapted, your lungs have adapted. So that's an obvious, but it just has to be seen. Now, here's one you might not have considered: dairy. I've done a lot of research on dairy. I've done spiritual research on dairy. I know from a capitalistic perspective, dairy is a very evil industry. We were being talked into needing milk very young. I know that there's a lot of studies out there that show that milk actually decreases the calcium in your bones and decreases the strength of your bones, doesn't increase it. But mostly what convinced me about dairy was when I worked with the angels. In fact, the angels refused to work with me until I had eliminated dairy out of my diet for 6 weeks. This is when I worked with an angel reader. I asked the angels why this was, and the angels explained to me that basically milk is a life force just like blood is a life force. In fact, you may not know this, but every drop of milk was a drop of blood before. The body turns blood into milk. So there is a spiritual energy that is meant to be for the child of the animal or human that makes the milk. The mother makes milk for the baby, the cow that makes the milk for the little baby cow, and from what I understand, spiritually and whatnot, we are not meant to go there. Now, I love cream in my tea, so I wanted to know, even though I know this is wrong, I still myself battle this. I use non-dairy creamer, I use coconut cream creamers now to have that creamy taste, and that's the thing. We got to find the taste and not hurt us. So I've been phasing out. I have to admit, I had pizza just a couple days ago. Total sin. One, I don't eat carbs very often, and two, I don't eat cheese unless I just can't go without it. So obviously, I wouldn't be able to work with the Angels now for 6 weeks if I had eaten that cheese. The next thing I want to say has to do, of course, is with GMO. Okay. Non-GMO foods. I think it's spiritually, I get a strong warning that we should not be interfering with our food supply. I believe this is where the Atlanteans went wrong, is by interfering with food supply. And now we're starting to release GMO insects, which to me is extremely dangerous. So, you can make a difference by simply not just purchasing non-GMO products. Capitalism still works, folks. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but honestly, it will pay off, and I'd love to hear what people have to say about this, and we can go into Monsanto and all the evil that's going on, but organic vegetables, non-GMO, is Sensei's opinion. And then the last thing I'll bring up is with marijuana. A lot of people have asked me about marijuana and what my thoughts are on marijuana. Well, I have a lot of thoughts on it. The truth of the matter is it's a weed that goes back to ancient colonial America. I have American Indian in me. I understand the nature of marijuana. I don't actually think that the Indians were smoking tobacco. I think they added a little tobacco for a kick, and they used tobacco for special ceremonies. But the Indians didn't smoke cigarettes. They did not smoke tobacco. What happened was the Europeans came, they liked that, and they took that. Of course, our forefathers are known to smoke hemp and whatnot. It has ridiculous medicinal properties. And when I read in the book Conversations with God, God literally said it was a gift He gave to the world, and it's horrible that there are powers keeping it from His children. So that is my quick little modern nutrition guide. I hope it helps you. If you don't do this research, I encourage you to do your own research. I encourage you to listen to your heart, listen to your instincts about what things tell you. And if something feels wrong, don't put it in your mouth.